the oven, yeah.
Those are just samples of
interested in
buttermilk parts.
prioritizing with me, because I was saying about federal regulations, you can't, of course,
All right, I
even
know-
imagine that you're going to do half of what needs to be done. I mean, it's overwhelming. Come and join us, Earl. Yes.
A chocolate and a plate.
You were friends with Joanne and Larry.
Neighbors. You know, we was tracking you last night. You know,
I kind of like it there.
so, you know, we do too. I've got to warn you that
Mama gets back in.
towers were actually our people.
Wouldn't strain.
Oh, you live in West End?
And we had,
You might as well just stay home and bang your head up against the wall, because I just can't imagine, you know, it's like,
no, we had, prior to that.
It was prior to that.
harder.
They had said we have a place where he goes,
Say,
you know, what do you do? And we did, much like you.
And he did.
And so that's the same thing.
Reagan.
So then a year later or
He
so,
was so
we were
fat, I
talking.
mean, and, you know,
And
the problem with him was he was so negative. I mean, I remember
she went over the next
Christmas
day.
time is gone.
Just like, because you already knew, laid out everything. And
What a
here,
terrible experience.
He
No
did
wonder
what
that
I
kid
had.
is
When he
screwed
been
up.
with Calvary, so it's exactly the same.
so,
That's a terrible thing to do to little kids.
so, yeah, we.
Expecting the light on the other industry. It's a light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved down here 6, 7 years
No,
ago.
and then the helicopter crashing and all this stuff.
So it's, you have to be careful because you can
I mean, that
throw
whole
one there real
president
quick.
is so negative.
Where am I at here?
Well, Obama.
It's kind of nice, and view out the window all the time.
Apologizing
It
for
is,
us.
it's very
Difference between the two.
Hi, and I'm Lori. We talked yesterday on the
Good to
phone.
see you.
Told you I'd be
It's
there.
You're Earl.
You're Earl.
Yeah. This ocean water just energizes me. What can I say? I love it.
We live in the most beautiful
It looks
place there is.
Have a chair.
I can see there were getting questions.
Oh, yeah, low tide.
And there's a lot of
But it's not as good.
numbers.
It's quite numbers. The chocolate is just different.
You know, I'm just here serving the cathedral.
I think she is.
Is it mayorship or not mayorship?
It's just lightly dipped in.
And non-paid.
But, you know, I just take the,
Non-paid.
But you get some handshakes once in a while. You get some of this once in a while. You know, it's all good,
Yeah,
right?
I get nothing but love.
That's it.
You've heard of Damascus, little town?
Yeah.
The mayor there was bragging on, he's got a 3 raise on salary.
Yeah.
From 0.
That's the stuff I don't.
We do that for offer somebody a raise, you know, matching my raise, you know, my taxes.
They don't.
And do it.
At least it's just merit. It doesn't trickle down. You know, the whole family thing.
yeah.
About,
It was just real
like
negative.
some other
I mean,
positions.
nothing was good in
But I still get
Yeah, you know,
people
and we had the double inflation.
So you have a city manager?
Yes.
city manager for me. We hired three to do the work, which is city manager,
Yeah.
judge,
Thinking about how negative part of this meeting was. You know, but when we were in the throes of
There's
economically, socially, so.
Well, you know, the indoctrination
I
has
heard
been
you
going on
remember it
so
was
long
on
in our
the ride last
schools
night.
that
It was,
is now older.
you figured you'd be dark. Usually we
They
have,
think all they need to do is
and he
breathe
had
and
one that
everyone
was
gets
working,
everything.
but noticed the night before, the stars came.
They're awesome.
Yeah, flip that one.
Yeah, you watch
Otherwise,
the way
they
that
did.
they hire these
No,
young
the-
people over and
Especially not familiar with
Yeah.
good things.
they show up late, they don't want to work, they're outside
Oh,
smoking
it's really
cigarettes,
good.
or they're
Well, we like,
fiddling around, you know, outside.
we're from, we.
You know, they're just out, you know, they're just not, so they'll hire like 10, and they might,
Yeah, I read a
two
buttermilk
halfway
bar.
decent.
Our kids are.
You know, which is so different from our generation that was brought up.
Any way
Well, we live
it could be changed if it didn't
in what they
happen.
call first
It can't
edition.
happen at work.
Somebody on auto.
Because they can say, you know, here are the guidelines.
We have a new ethics.
And a lot of people
And our government.
I've seen that because we've worked with employers
Yeah.
to tell them how to do that with this this generation, some of
Yes,
which are
yeah.
very dedicated and wonderful, but then there's another group that just isn't. And a lot of employers aren't ready.
And having two male sons, I realized there's a real light bulb that comes on at about 25.
Oh, my God.
And we got
You
it.
know, and things, I mean,
And
one of them
we
was
did
their night and day. One of them was a really good kid, like from day one, and the other one kind of, you know, he's gonna hit 25 in September. So he's almost there now. You know, he's almost
And we're pretty
sleeping.
much done now. They're
But,
finishing
yeah,
up the
something about,
basement now.
you know, and we all, you know, have to grow up.
With our son, it happened at 23 because he fell in love and got married.
Oh,
That
That's a great
changed.
Well, like I said, it's around
there.
25.
Yeah.
work for a paycheck.
So, yeah.
Let's go out to the car and grab something for me so I don't just sit here without anything.
Oh, no, you need your stuff.
I need my rack cards. Here's my rack cards.
So where they're in the, what's it name? That area.
I need to get my
East End redevelopment, what we want.
East End, yeah. Yep, oh, take it.
chauffeur,
Yep.
the transporter of
My people, I know, you know, it's good to have people. It's good to have people.
Somebody's got to keep you coordinated.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks,
And then the question is, where's MapQuest, Gary? That's your job.
Thank you very much for your help.
No, I found that it helps to have, you know, certainly one, if not more, you know, helping out.
I got a question on the city.
Okay.
And just looking around, I would think that, I was expecting that the fishery issues would be of critical importance, but it looks like tourism could be too.
Yeah.
This city is more of a tourist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln City, again, the history, you know, was different communities merged together back in '64, I think it is. There were like six different,
Okay, let me get your cup.
we now call them,
All right, I
we will call them
Oh, you already got your one?
Ocean
Okay.
Lake, D-Lake, Nelscott, Taft, and Cutler City all agreed to form Lincoln City.
Is that why it's long?
Yeah.
Yes.
7.5 miles long, yeah.
Very long.
This front and center,
Oh, you bet, right here. Then I just have my comfort
that's so
zone.
everybody can see it. We want
Yeah.
everybody to be able to see it.
Yeah,
There you go.
here we go.
But this part of
Now you have your stuff.
Yeah, my stuff.
There's no.
I think I got pretty now. So anyway,
this part of the coast, actually, we don't, you know, never have had a mill, lumber mill, or never had a fishing
Fishery,
port.
yeah.
Now logs came down the river and floated, you know, took them out in the old days. So it's been a tourist destination right there.
During the war, they were taking the spruce out.
Right.
However, a lot of tourists come here to fish.
Okay.
that's
And that's
what I would
You
think.
know, they come
We
here
have the two
to
streams, you know, Siletz River and
the
Salmon River, and then
the ocean, and,
So
you know,
there is-
because our store is named Dave's Catch. Okay, because my husband loves to fish and I love to go out and scrounge antiques, so we each have our catches, you know? So, they come in there. That's great. And he's an avid hunter, avid fisherman. We have pictures all over the store, so people come in daily to ask what's running, where are the fish, what do I use? What do I, you know, how do I get a license here for just a couple days and so forth. So there are a lot of tourists that come here to fish.
It's just a commercial fishery,
Yeah,
it's not the
it's-
fishing. I'll be there.
Yeah, Newport, that you'll hear much more commercial fishing.
Yeah, oh
Right.
yeah, oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
while the husbands go fishing, the wives shop. The kids need places to go. I mean, so it is huge.
And then tell me, what do the data show as far as how that's going in terms of income, sustaining the community the way we desire? The tourism data.
We try to get every dime possible.
When they're here,
Almost nasty, almost nasty.
is it sustaining? Is your,
Do you agree? I mean, it's almost like we just make it more tourist.
we need a tax? Oh, the tourist
Oh,
season
there is
is.
tax now, careful.
I know.
It's transit road tax.
I read about it.
Well, I mean, as far as the operation of the city, it's a, huge plus.
Oh, yeah.
Not only to remarket yourself, but it's a small piece of it. The rest of it feeds back into the city, for the streets, parks, and
Salt them around a little.
That makes me feel very comfortable.
so, it's,
So how is it sustained itself?
well, I don't know what you mean by sustained. Let me say Lincoln County is one of the poorest. Forget about the balance. We're so far low. And then you take it down to Lincoln City, and it's much lower than the county.
Well, okay, now I had read that, and I had read that actually.
You wanted just the lady?
Okay, I don't know why they were reporting that, but they were. And
Make sure
I was wondering if the tourism industry is sustaining itself, or it's dropping.
How are you? Excuse me? I'm speaking with her. Would you like to speak with her? I've already spoken with her quite a little bit.
Take the trip with disposable income.
I'm part of her local support group. I live here and work here and,
At a low point.
okay, good.
We're picking up, I believe we're picking up people.
Join us.
Cut back, so they cut off your beach.
Sure.
No, the decline in income there's so much decline in income when you're working in service sector, such service.
Okay, regular donuts are not too
Feel free to take one of these. And this is Karen Bowerman right here, in person in Lincoln City.
And we don't have an industry that pays livable wage. Like the beginning. We don't have an agriculture, we don't have a, so you're working
One more, I
on
got more in the back.
minimum wage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you said a twist?
I get it, thank you. Yes.
Ross is a tribal elder up in the Chicago address of Native life. And he came down here to meet.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And tell me again what it is you do.
Well, I work with Roger at the casino, but I'm also a tribal elder. I'm on my way up to councilman today.
Oh, how interesting. Yeah.
He uses a very strange thing. He uses a thing called logic and common sense.
Very nice.
For this area, it is.
Thank you for coming. And good morning to you.
Roger,
Good to see you again.
we've exchanged a lot of emails.
Yes, we have been. Bye-bye. Yeah, we had the email communication going.
Yeah, I'm on Ross.
Good.
The casino has above.
1 more baker's dozen.
They're not,
One more, we do a baker's dozen.
Plentiful.
they're not, well,
Largest employer in the county.
yeah, it's the largest employer in the county, but,
Isn't that interesting?
some jobs are minimum wage, plus tips. Some jobs are better paying, and then they become political, where if the supervisor doesn't like you, you're down the road. I mean, it's a very strange place.
It's not really something you can advance and go farther. I mean, if you're waiting tables, you're waiting tables. I mean, it's not like you're gonna ever own the company or, start your own casino or manage it.
Well, the thing
So
that
you
you
have
don't
your
realize
income
now,
and access.
waitresses,
And a vanilla.
let's say that they're making 18 to 19% in tips, whether they are or not, and they get taxed for it. 18 to 19% of their sales, they get taxed for it. So that cuts back on more. And they may not be making that. They might make that as a living, but they're not necessarily making that.
Can I look?
When you're the buffet,
I had overall responsibility
As a
for
waitress.
prime dynamics.
and all she's doing is bringing you coffee and maybe a fresh dishes, and people are throwing $1 or $2 on the table, but she's made
He used to put on the Emmys.
First thing after
I thought you did for 15 years.
No.
That was my wife on stage at the 50th anniversary.
Vanilla.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what do by a good friend of mine, and he autographed them.
Oh, my goodness. sakes.
Copy number 1.
Can I make that a Snickers instead?
Can you see that?
I just saw that. It's okay, go ahead. I'll take a look at it.
Ronald Reagan.
He wrote most of his own material. He plagiarized a few things.
Good morning, Tom.
I called him the silent majority. He embellished when I called him the great silent majority.
Yeah, he's hungry this morning.
That was my turn.
Well, I'm going to start plagiarizing.
Yeah, the heavy's going.
That
Well,
is
you've led a
amazing.
fascinating life.
I've had more fun in life than any Kennedy by now.
Well, I'm going to start plagiarizing from you too. In fact, I already have. I ended an interview on the radio yesterday morning with, he said, is there anything else you'd like to say? And I said, absolutely. This is a government of the people, by the people. You know, and it gets louder. And your listeners are the people, and so let's get talking. It was so much fun. That was my little twist on it, was the let's get talking.
Took off the bottom of the flyer that I made.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Karen,
He was a
Tom,
baby.
Hi, Karen.
How do you do? Good to see you.
Good to see you. This is another guy that uses a bunch of common sense, like Ross here.
Thank you.
No, I haven't had another discussion.
There's some good common sense folks here.
Well, I actually dropped out of the Republican Party and I came in independent. I actually registered Tea Party, but there's no such
But there is
thing.
such thing.
So I was kind of wondering, who the Tea Party back, you or your...
Well, I think they're going to go just with whoever wins the primary, to be honest. Because I know that I'm extremely good friends with the Tea Party, attend all the events and all.
You're a conservative.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no question about that. But I can't ask for your vote until November because it's just Republicans that can, yeah.
I thought the independents could vote in the primary.
You know, the way it was kind of a weird deal. What the Republican Party did was to invite independents, not unaffiliated, but independents, to vote in the statewide elections, which would be only Secretary of State, etc. And then I happened to be on the Secretary of State's website one time just for another thing, and I noticed that independents had to request a ballot, or they wouldn't be able to vote. How many of them do you think knew that?
Well, Tammy's an independent, and she did send in the card, and she got her ballot. She was disappointed because she couldn't vote in the primary.
No, this is the statewide.
Yeah, so,
It was a little bit misleading. Because I thought the person I've heard who actually requested a ballot.
Yeah, well, Tammy's here, you know. Henry made sure she knew about it, and
It's almost a job requirement to work here.
Yeah.
make sure you vote, you register.
Memorize the Constitution.
I can tell you the difference between her and Fred Thompson. I was with Fred Thursday night. They both have pretty much the same objectives and ideals. They really do. The difference is in their approach and their background. But if Fred is elected, he'll be like a bull in a china shop. And he won't get very far in that setting. He'll be pretty much an outcast. Karen, on the other hand, has
Bit
risen to...
abrasive.
Well, yeah, he is. And Karen's risen to the top of the field of a male-dominated economic profession. And so that shows guts to even take that approach and perseverance to get there. And so once elected, I think she'll be far more effective in office than Fred. Even though they both have pretty much the same conservative objectives, I think her chance of actually getting things done will be far greater than his.
And I want to say something that was very telling. She called me yesterday, and I'm sure she didn't have the face for who she was speaking to. I'm assuming, and then that's okay.
You're
you know?
right.
And that's okay. And she introduced herself, who she was, and I know who you are, you know. And she went on a little bit, and she goes, "Is now a good time to talk?" Okay, now this is a lady that's busy, I'm sure. And she calls me up in my little secondhand store and has the courtesy to ask if now is a good time to talk. And if she didn't already have my vote, she would have gotten it right then. Because really, my feeling is a lot of the people already in office, hey, bow down to me now because, you're lucky that I'm speaking with you. And this lady asked me if I had the time to talk.
Please do me a favor. When you get in office, please don't come out with these fancy dancy cards that you send out. Cards $1.40.
Yeah.
And taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
I get those from Kurt Trader, and it's just, I mean, it's so elaborate, lots of pictures. And it says right there, paid for by taxpayer dollars. And you can't even recycle it.
I want to share with you a story that kind of ties your 2 points together. And this one comes from Canton, which is and that's where his farm used to be. I think he's going to part of the land there. I'm not sure how it's going to be worked out, but at any rate, that's his home country. He had a town hall there, and this is how he conducted it. There was a little, like the equivalent of this room, right up there in the corner. There was a table like this with 2 chairs. And he sat with his back to the rest of the people that were sitting out here. I didn't see this, but people from Canton have told me. I've heard the story now until it's in my soul. But anyway, he sat with us, and the audience here asked if they were here, we're down there, come up here. He said, this person drew the lucky number to be able to talk with me. And then he would, this was the incumbent. And this is where we're sure. So anyway, then, as soon as that person was done, it was time, how much time they had to talk. And then she would leave, and then an assistant over here would do another number. And then that lucky person got to go up there and talk. So you sat here the whole time, not being able to hear anything unless your number was called. And I just thought, how aloof. That is just not what service needs.
Well, as far as being, him being like, I guess the refer to him as a blue dog Democrat, so it's kind of interesting because he definitely doesn't lead the pack in his voting record. He follows it. And, at least my dog, a blue healer, would lead the pack. He would not follow it. He would be the leader. What is he with his party, like 98% of the time?
I got a story on it.
I don't want to see that from either side. I really don't.
He had been in the high 90s, like you're saying. And I've noticed something interesting in the last few months. You'll see the number down now to the high 70s. And what he's doing is, if the vote is for stimulus or something big on Obamacare, where he's voted twice, he will go with the Nancy Pelosi line. And if it is not, if it's just some little more simple kind of thing, he may vote with what makes him look like a blue dog. So that's been very interesting to watch, because he's trying to be more what he has said. But if
Making the numbers look better.
but if you know how the numbers work, and when he's really voting still for everything, in my opinion, he's getting us down the road toward more debt, more higher deficit, then it's trying to kid us.
While you're here in this area and you're driving through to different places, just keep an eye out on the empty buildings.
I've been doing that. Yeah.
There are a lot.
And some of them are very large and right on the main drag, aren't they?
What do you get the buildings being? That's an interesting concept, but driving in the state, I see buildings all over the state. So what do you have to buildings mean? What do you want to carry a lot of weight?
Well, empty buildings and depot buildings.
They'll never know.
I have never seen it before this year.
All right, guys.
You know, we're in May, the tourist season is here, and there's empty buildings. Nobody's wanting to open up a store in one of the busiest downtown little shopping places there are. We have storefronts here in Lincoln City that are for rent for $500 a month. Entry-level storefronts,
Well,
and no one's renting them. No one's willing to spend $500 a month getting self-employed and make a living.
Okay, so,
You know, there's a building that I personally would love to own, and although in this time, I don't feel I can.
you don't have the confidence.
I don't have the confidence in the economy to do it, and I can't convince my husband to do it, and the price has dropped $150,000. And it's like a real bargain price now, and I still can't twist his arm enough to get him
I guess
to move on that.
a couple observations, because I don't think, and the only reason I'm challenging, and I'm not really challenging, I'm just trying to get what's the perspective, because Lincoln City benefited from massive growth. We by far led the county in construction. And a lot of that, if you track the space available, the commercial space, we zoomed up. So given that, in a downturn, you're going to have more foreclosures because you speculated and built a lot. You're going to have more empty buildings. This past State of the City speech by the current mayor addressed the issue because the common thing is, in my opinion, people drive by, see empty buildings, think you're in a tank. I challenged the people to think about how many businesses opened up last year, 2011. I said, name 5. I named 20. And I didn't go to any records. I just drove the streets. And or took the initiative in a small shop to rent a bigger shop and expand. And I was complimenting the entrepreneurs and that they're willing to step up, because now it is a good time to step up. So I would be careful a little bit of just buying envelopes because there's empty buildings. When you overbuild, you're going to have empty buildings. And businesses, small businesses, 80% of them fail. I mean, it's a natural progression. So, because you're undercapitalized, you have no management, and we're made up of small businesses. So I
How
can't be so
many
quick.
new commercial buildings have been built in the last year?
Well, none. Why would there be? Because you have space available. That's a good.
You don't want to build more when you have all these empty buildings.
Well, when
Right,
you get to
so-
Tanger, we just lost Easy Spirit, and that was one of the original stores that went in. And
We
they
got a
went
new
out.
deli.
Huh?
We got a new deli.
Which is happens to be just awesome.
Yeah, right. And you have another new deli right here on Ocean.
And that's in
Yeah.
the Tanger?
But, you
No,
know,
it's on.
But that's
it's
a
on
big-
that to me was stunning that they went out of, well, I'm gonna say that I get mixed messages when I go into the stores in Tanger. Easy Spirit was one of the original stores that was in there when Tanger opened, and they just went out of business.
Tanger's the discount.
Yeah.
I was
But-
just hoping there'd be time to stop.
Jones of New York, when I went in there and, to buy some clothes, she told me that
I'm going to keep track of paper.
casino
Oh,
put out
good, you have met
those,
Stephen Polly McKay.
Oh,
Yeah, they were the
$50,
former leaders of the Republican Party.
they were giving away gift cards
Oh, okay,
for, $25 or $50.
okay.
And she said that people were coming in really excited that they got these gift cards. And she said this one woman came in with this gift card for $50 and ended up spending $1,000 more. So, I mean, it's kind of a, some stores are doing really, really well, and then some stores are not meeting target.
Well, let me ask this
And so-
overall then. When you look at the city and the area overall, the economy is not as healthy as it could be.
Correct.
What federally could be done, should be done to help elevate that? Is it about getting control of the federal issues, or is there anything that is specifically local that we should attend to?
One thing, we have a mindset here, and for some reason, people don't go into the new businesses. They wait until they've been open like a year. I mean, you know where my business is located, you've been in there. And I don't know what's wrong with the people sometimes. I've had people walk by my storefront every day to go to work for 5 years and never see we were there. And they're walking on the sidewalk right in front of our store.
But that's a
And we have-
local issue.
And we have 5 big windows.
Yeah.
But you know,
How did you not see it?
Let me ask you this question.
Days Cash? You've been in there.
That's it.
Secondhand antique store? Been in and talked with my husband. Guns, tools.
To answer Garen's question about what can be done on the federal level, what's wrong. Ever since we went off, our dollar has been backed by consumer confidence. And our ability to produce, which we're not as producing nation, but consumer confidence is the main thing. Today, every child born today is born $60,000 in debt. That's not the American dream. If we can get rid of the national debt, consumer confidence will go way up. You cannot get rid of the debt by either tax increases or spending cuts. Because every dollar turns either 5 times to the local economy, most of them 5 times, except for tourism dollars that turn 7 times. So every dollar that you take out in taxes or that you take out in the economy in spending cuts or a combination thereof has about 5 to 7 times negative impact on the economy. So we have to get rid of the national debt without raising taxes and without spending cuts. And there is a way to do it. And you said you had a little different thing.
I do. And let me just comment on what she said at first. What I was attempting to ask there is are there national issues that simply need to be taken care of in order to benefit the local economy? And that's what I hear you saying. Or is there something specific here, a specific focus, a specific anything that needs to be attended to? And I think what I'm hearing you say is it's really we're a subject of the national economy and suffering because of the overall. And if that's the case, those are clearly, I mean, as you can see on the card there, that is exactly where I feel I'm in my comfort range. And that's what I like to do. When I was at the university, which was on government money, when I left, I had put back enough from very, very horrid budgets for there to be self-sustaining delivery of student hours for 3 years without any more income. And that just comes from, I hate to say it, loving budgets. But if you do, you know how to use it and manipulate it and don't overspend. I mean, the obvious kinds of things that can make tax dollars work well, work effectively. So, yeah, we had talked in an email about some ways to raise revenues without additional taxes. That's what we had been discussing, because there are clearly some of our so-called entitlement programs like Social Security that even if we have early on choices of people over some certain age, whether it be 18 or whatever, who can opt out of the program, and even if we grandfather in those people who are only, say, 45 or 50, whatever the magic age is that's decided there still needs to be money to pay those of us who are over that age as we phase out of the program, right? And so we were talking about where does that money come from? And it has to come in one way or another from incoming revenue, because the politicians had eaten up our Social Security Trust Fund down to zero, which is infuriating, but that's the way it is. And they had no right to do it, but they did it, and so here we are.
Something like a trust.
Yeah, it's so ironic. So where does that money come from? And it's a little bit curious to some, because they know that if jobs increase, we do have more revenue at the federal level. So that's one way, but hopefully from that type of new revenue that comes in, it would be used to just fund the budget, which has to be ongoing, without really taking care of some of those things like Social Security and maybe some other entitlements, because Veterans Affairs is considered to be an entitlement too. We don't want to drop out of that. So the idea here was to take some of the federal lands that are probably not going to be given back. You know, just here you go, Oregon, or here you go, Nevada, where the federal land ownership is over 90% instead of 53% like it is in Oregon, and 60% of our forests owned by the feds. I mean, it's such high numbers. But then back east is a really low number of 2%, 3%, 5% in most of the eastern states. Yeah, but it would not make it, it would not make it for just a gift from the federal government be politically very possible. You see what I'm saying? Because being a national issue with the ownership of the federal land, why would they want to give back disproportionately to the U.S.? I mean, imagine talking to a senator or representative from Connecticut to try to convince him to go along with this little idea of just gifting the land. It might be possible, and it certainly is worth trying for, but maybe that wouldn't work. If it wouldn't, then why not lease the land and have the federal government be the recipient of the funds from that lease, whether it is leased to the state or to private industry? Then those funds could be developed in an entrepreneurial way by the leaseor. And then the benefit that would go to the federal government from the lease would be used for the payment that would be needed for the entitlements that we were talking about. So that's a variation.
Let me give you a variation on that concept.
Okay, good.
Anytime you move something down one level of government, you save 10%.
Yeah.
It's done just as well, but it costs 10% less. So if it goes from federal to state, you save 10%. It goes from state to county, you save 10%. County to city, you save 10%.
Or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So move it down. The question is, who's going to do what? Let's use Oregon as a great example. It's a very diverse state. Somebody that is a fisherman or a logger should not try to tell a very dense, congested urban area how to do traffic control.
Right.
They have no frame of reference. They don't have any knowledge about the details of what would make it work and what the problems are. Somebody living on a high rise should not tell a fisherman how to catch fish or a logger how to cut trees. But they do, because Oklahoma County has the boats, Washington County has the boats, and they're telling the area over here how to do things, and they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
Local decisions should be made by local people. And as a country, we ought to set up a new type of entity that does not now exist, called a local community control zone, reserve, or reserve. I have to research the implications of each of those three words because they have different connotations. But a local control method that, regardless of who owns it, the decisions on how to control things and do things in a local area should be reserved to the people of that area. Now, there are people that would try to rape a forest and completely ruin it for the future, but if a panel of local people, reasonable people, are not going to allow their home area to be destroyed.
Well, the
So
timber
there's
industry
protection
is
of it.
regulated by, they have to reforest. They can't, they have to leave a buffer around streams and lakes.
Right. But right now, they don't have to reforest because they can't cut them.
They can't cut them, that's right.
But if there was a local control zone that would prohibit outside influence from telling them how to do it, which needs to be established, it doesn't, but to establish that would be more doable than turning over ownership of the land.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it would have the same effect.
And that could combine well with the leasing concept, couldn't it?
So one of the things that's happening here with the leasing concept, and I don't know if they're federal lands, state lands, or whatever. All I know is my husband's been here hunting since he was 13 years old. Lands he used to hunt in freely every year are now leased out to companies that say no.
Okay, find out who's the owner.
And so,
I would like to know.
And a lot of them are being leased to companies that aren't from this country, okay? And they're saying, no, we don't like hunting. And,
How you doing?
And so there's a huge group of hunters that are really upset because they pay their licenses, which aren't cheap, to go out and hunt, and they can't hunt.
Well, if it's not, if it's a federal ownership, which is interesting, then it isn't an environmental thing, probably.
And it's not like there's problems and whatever, and normally the companies like
Yes, sir.
thinning the elk herds a little bit because they're devastating on the elm trees. I mean, they can just go through and just mow them all down, you know, and all that hard work to plant them, get them going, and they're just eating. So, you know, in years past, they used to like you to come in the herd, and now it's like there's no hunting.
On this particular subject, anybody here private? Okay, we have,
He left.
Tribal.
we have fishing reserves, or marine reserves, public waterways, where people are not allowed to fish. Almost the private people can still fish there. Private people can still hunt in various areas, but the rest of us can't. There's a word for that, discrimination.
Cherry or apple?
If it doesn't get me to
That's why in the local control district wherever they are, I would specify that they're equal opportunity. Nobody should be prevented from doing something because they are not trying.
Yeah, if you take the extra truck up there, it's not busy enough. So the truck that is up there, he can't do all of that. So they send me from Lincoln City.
All of the regulations.
One more, bigger
Smothering. Saturday.
Plain?
As you. Plastic bags.
Is that right?
Carries. If you remove that plastic bag.
Stops in Newport, and they're just brought yachts too.
Transparent. Job creation. You have a lot of environmental. Closed down. You can't even.
Thank you.
Next time we go to because it's closed.
Right.
You can't even pick up an ag without.
That's what I was
Seashell without.
because it's owned.
Inside it.
It's owned.
And then here's another aspect. If you are a fisherman, you have to take a
Thank you. You have one morning.
that knows every type of fish.
I'm
Because
gonna do
you may
a
have
chocolate
caught
covered snail and a
something
chocolate
that.
milk.
A coho instead of a chinook, because there are some variations. It's not just cut and dried, you know?
And if you do catch a coho,
And what would you like?
and I saw this.
I leave.
They catch good crap. They catch, caught a coho, a lot of them are stuff.
Well, thank you.
Father,
2 apricots and half a fritter.
and a young boy.
Buttermilk.
All of a sudden, they got people that watch
Oh, yes.
and call the authorities. They got called. All of a sudden, there was a state trooper, game warden.
Okay.
There was like.
That was an apple fritter.
Yes.
And 2 apricots.
He got fined $300.
And the buttermilk.
He was leaving, he's just, the boat was going back, he put on the trailer, and I'm sure the guy was saying to himself, I'm sure.
And this
That's
is,
the way.
this is a travesty for people who love their natural resources the way we do. It's just so wrong. And it,
Chocolate milk.
Well, and I kayak out of the Salmon River, the mouth of the Salmon River, and go out to this bit, walk my dog and everything. And the whole business of that's kind of in a cooperation control with the UN. Really?
really, isn't that something?
Oh yeah, this is one of those protected zones out there, and the UN has their input on, and I love this area. I mean, it's 5 minutes from my house. I can go there with my dog. It's awesome, but I get there and it's like the politics of the area almost over, and you know, I take a bag at some things, and you know, you wonder. You walk around and you see people sometimes in their leisure slacks and button-down shirts, and I'm like, I kayak here. How did you get here in a button-down shirt? You know, I mean, it's just like, and what are you doing with your little transits out there checking everything?
I come from, I came from the city.
I have one for you.
I was a Los Angeles City
We won't hold it against you.
fire captain.
No.
tried to de-Californiate Oregon anyway. But I don't let that bother me, because anybody that looks on me in that line, I don't want to have anything to do with it. But after I retired, I went to the ranch.
You want the chocolate West?
Amador County, we had the state Congress was Norm Waters, who was part of Willie.
They get to know this.
You know who he is?
I know who you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got
Brett.
Yeah, he was Speaker of the House, right? Yeah. Now, these people were all connected with ranching. Norm Waters used to have Willie Pickard come over to the house and they'd take him out on horses. He never even done that. But anyway, I was real active in this cabinet association and the national cabinets and the national cabinets association. And I saw people that were staunch in this, that after what was done by the Environmental Protection and other government public officers.
Yeah, you know, it kind of comes
And they actually came to the point where they said that if you brought up anything Republican, Democrat, they were all over it. And Vigo should not base it on talking about he was a vet. This guy that's representing us right now is a vet. And I just want to understand what he's coming about. Because those people down there that were staunch Democrats, they finally said, where has my party gone? And here this guy is an Aggie. And he's
the old fashioned.
totally operating out of his, what he is.
You mean Kirchner? Yeah, well, he used to be at least, and he still has a storefront. But he's inherited millions of dollars from Pfizer, from the work that his grandfather did there.
One of the longest
He's up there for sure. And so
It's number 79 on it.
that's correct. So to think as a veterinarian is not the mindset. That's just not that's not where his heart is.
This vet has helped reduce the dog days before.
As far as the federal issue, I would just have to say we have a very large population here.
Can we also add
Yeah.
Most of your constituents are ag, outside of the city.
Yes, definitely outside of the cities. There is quite a bit of Clackamas that isn't. They see the world differently. There's quite a bit of the Salem area there sees the world differently. They don't have the same priorities, but that's a part of what I think makes this district so really interesting is that type of diversity that it has. And it's definitely there. There's a different ambiance and a different sense of priority on the coast and out of the urban areas. The farmers, even the wineries, they have a different approach. And when you look at the wineries, which is a marvelous industry with about 180 or so in the 5th District, one of the things that Schrader did was to sponsor. He sponsored a few bills, but one of them that he sponsored would just wipe out about at least 20% of the sales of all of our wineries. And that was because he was trying to remove internet marketing as a possibility for how any winery in the country could operate. Well, why control that in free enterprise too? It's just bizarre. They all ganged up on him, I guess you would say, and it took him about 6 months, and they talked him out of that position.
He's smothering the economy.
Yes.
And that's the way I know that you're looking at things. If anything smothers any part of the economy, you're actually doing the whole economy.
it's domino effect for all of us in every place that we are. And to build on your point in different areas, I believe that education is local also. And whether it's pre-K through 12 or however you want to parcel it out there, for us to have a Department of Education that is manipulating those funds for goals that they specify and that they have no idea how it's being implemented on the local level. And to control that many $1 billion of funds is just absurd when it's not a federal issue. And the tiny little parts of it that are in education don't need a humongous bureaucracy
And the
to
kids aren't
implement.
getting any better educated.
No, they're not. They're negative results from that. And then if you talk about the farmers, you've got regulations that irritate them just a little bit more inland up here, where wetlands. The Agenda 21 is an enormous issue, where you have to empty this ditch today, but whoops, we made a mistake. We really should have said, fill this ditch. And so with the days of labor and work involved in that, they'll move it
And don't
back
let your
and
kids
forth.
work on the farm.
Oh, no. Because that might be really bad. So
Regenerations, kids made their summer money picking strawberries.
Well, and they learned the business. They
Yeah.
learned
They learned the dollars, the value of a dollar,
Yeah.
Education, one place we can have far better results and save a lot of money with some major changes. We used to have a Pony Express and it became obsolete, right? Education is at that point now where they should go the way of the Pony Express. Because it used to be people would get an education, go to work for a company, work for them for 30 or 40 years and retire. And we've all seen people that were moving up in a corporation, and as they got older, they didn't really keep up with times, and they kind of stagnated, and then they had to retire, so they retired a lot early. Well, technology is changing so fast now. People are reaching that point faster and faster and having retired younger and younger at a time when people are living longer and longer. It's going to be a huge sociological problem. Education, by the time something becomes fact and is analyzed and then put in books and people are trained to teach it. By the time the top people get their degrees, that's already obsolete. I mean, technology is changing. Intel this week has come out with a new 3D chip, not two-dimensional, but three-dimensional chip that's going to be so much faster. They're jumping 2 generations ahead on the chip production. And the technology that's going to be here 5 years from now, you can't even imagine. And so kids are going into debt today to get degrees that are going to be obsolete by the time they graduate.
And
Mm-hmm.
Which is
yet
stupid. There's no cure for stupidity.
And yet we're still not teaching them how to balance a checkbook.
So a whole new
or to
approach.
understand the implications of what's on here with
Right.
regard to our federal checkbook.
But a whole new approach. First off, we need to re-implement some trade schools because a computer chip will never hold a chainsaw or catch a
Right.
fish.
You all have to go. It has been an absolute
Thank you for stopping in.
And I want to make a pledge to you all, and that is that if when I'm elected, let's be positive.
When?
Yeah.
When?
That I want to maintain communication because we see what needs to be done, but there's so much of it that needs to be done that it's got to be prioritized with what's important to you. That's a quick summary.
And things will change and evolve and new things will need
Things
done.
do happen.
Yes, that's right.
Before you go, I want to be on the record. Tom is more congenial than I am. Now that I'm here, I will sign any petition to go damn Californians out. Now that I'm here,
He did. Yeah, I sat down with all the heads, John Hampton.
that's why.
And they worked out a deal.
I didn't know that.
And they came up with a compromise that said, that because it was spotted owl, they shut down all federal lands.
And then what happened?
Nothing. They came up with this compromise that they said, yes, you could take X amount every year.
It's just like
And-
drugs.
And the industry was enthused. And nothing came of
And if
it.
there's anyone who could have implemented that, it's the president, so it's a matter of choice.
He
It's a
out
matter
here
of
and he sat
priority.
down for a couple of days with, there was this round table.
Wow.
And what happened, you know, the environmentalists put some pressure on him and he backed off.
You're talking about.
And he backed
That's a
off.
mighty lobby.
So the federal lands and the state lands are still on board. And the thing is, this state, when they cut the timber, see, it's tax exempt while the trees are growing. And then when the timber is cut, gets money, the counties get money, the state gets money, the schools get a lot of money. That's what's supposed to be driving the income for the schools, is cutting the timber.
And the roads, the county roads.
Haven't you heard that tree scream when that chainsaw?
If I was big enough that I could run a chainsaw,
Gotta just solidify those borders. Well, it's not to me, because I've been working with it in my old job all the time. One aspect of it, which was the solidity of the border, which it's just like cheese. I mean, you just walk through upright at many points, and you can crawl through easily at other points. And that needs to be changed. But once that's done, I think there begin to be some spiraling effects. But this idea of treating those individuals as if they're in state, as far as all the kinds of benefits that would come either from the state of Oregon or whatever state they're in, is a shame. That is a state's decision. Because I'm high on state sovereignty also.
And now we can give them a child credit when it's not even their kid, up to like 20 kids.
And that's why so many people that don't pay any taxes get a refund. And the proportion of people who pay no taxes, being darn near half of our population, is mind-boggling. And then to have a refund possible in most cases because of that child law, it just is not working. So, but some of that needs to be controlled at the state level. And I think when we feel strongly about that, we really need to get our state to do something too. But immigration itself.
They're going to let them have their licenses back again.
But immigration itself is a federal problem, and the condition of those borders is a federal problem.
Well, the court decision coming out of the Arizona law is going to be very interesting.
Very interesting.
I think they're going to pull part of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, I do too. And to have it be to where the state can or can't choose or can only choose part of an augmentation to the federal efforts is very interesting. Yeah.
I love the way she raised the situation. Anyway, going back to education, San Jose has a pilot program that's proven very successful. They've taken a partner economic development council with education and with private business. Where part of the work like people work the job, but like 4 hours a week, they're being retrained for new technology, so they're always current. And so they took the CEOs of the company and put them on the board, so the CEOs, their idea is to make sure it works.
I did these things too.
Yeah. And they keep retraining their people. Education comes up with programs of how to retrain it, but economic development says this is what they need to train it, and then have the companies do it, rather than having the universities do it, because that system, as one express, can't keep up with the speed of what's going on.
Right.
Not that they're bad, it's just that they can't keep up with the speed.
I like that analogy of the Pony Express. You know, I really do.
It's clear.
Yeah, it is. Very visual.
Libraries are going the same way because of that. But anyway, and keeping them up that way, there's great cost savings. Now, about 4 hours a week, 10% of the work week, about half that can be made up from loss, waste of time. But half of it would have to be made up by hiring 5% of the people So all of a sudden, our unemployment goes from 10% back down to 5%, which is
I know,
sustainable.
and
10% is not
I'm
sustainable.
not sending anybody.
So 5%. So if the concept would change from 40-hour work week to 40-hour day week, 36-hour work week to 4-hour retraining, it would take some tax credits to encourage companies to do that. Companies of 100 employees or more. Some of that money that would be saved from education would go into providing those tax credits. But it would encourage the change in that system, using that San Jose example, and really keep people updated.
Yeah.
And that would solve the sociological problem of people being displaced as they get older. I know cell phones, to me, smart cell phones are really dumb. I'm looking for a cell phone that has a rotary dial.
Good luck. Oh, that's funny.
You know, back to education, my youngest son, will be 25 this year, went to Taft High here. And in his junior year, there weren't any electives for him to take. And he had already taken, all he needed was
A budget.
a history and an English class, you know, he had already earned all the other credits and done everything else he needed to do. So he was having 4 PE classes a day,
You're kidding.
okay, to keep him busy. Okay, that's what he had, was 4 PE classes a day. Well, he dropped out, you know.
Sure.
He was a junior, he's a young, good-looking kid, you know, found some girls, and he dropped out. And he went to live with my oldest son in Dallas. And, you know, so I'm on the computer looking boot camps. You know, I'm gonna have him taken and thrown into a boot camp, I need something. And I found about the Oregon Challenge High School program in Bend. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, we've got a son in Bend.
Okay, and so I called him up with that because you have to be willing, you know. I'm like, listen, you can go to this school and you can get your high school diploma. You can get it done in 6 months. You have a year and a half of school left, you can get it done in 6 months, and then you're done, and I'm off your back. Because my job is to get you a diploma, and you'll have had it. And so he went down there, he did it. And this is a kid that was getting all D's and everything here because they have, and he goes down there and he graduated valedictorian.
Isn't that wonderful?
Okay, so I mean,
Yeah. It's about the challenge
It's
being in the
not-
right area.
this is not a dumb kid.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
but this is a kid that's too smart for putting up with the bull of what we're calling education.
Now, that is
You
a
know?
local issue, but I think with the positions that the federal government is taking now, we again interfere with the local. And that's where it goes awry.
Right.
Get some federal money for this.
And let me tell you, the principal did not like him coming back as a valedictorian. Okay?
Isn't that too much? That is too much.
Well, we,
But they had all these standards. If you didn't get a B on this paper, you did that paper again. You couldn't just go on to the next paper, the next issue, unless you got a B on this one.
Well, the
You know, they made sure you knew the work.
thing that from this discussion, in part of what I'm taking is there have got to be, as we look at bills, more bills and more bills, filters by which we say, is this good, is this bad? If it interferes with liberty, it's bad. If it is not constitutional, it's bad. It would never receive a positive vote from me. But in addition, if it interferes with the achievement of our fiscal responsibility as a nation in terms of the debt and the deficit, we can't support it because otherwise we'll continue to do what these big government votes are doing for us, which is driving us away from rather than toward the objective that we're trying to reach. And whatever happened to keeping your eye on the ball?
Right.
And the ball is for us to get out of debt, have a balanced budget, whether we have an amendment or not, just behave as if we do, and get back to an even keel. That's where we need to be.
I can tell you what happened, and I don't know the answer to it, maybe you can figure it out. The problem is there are so many bills that go into Congress, they're lumped together.
Yep.
You get a vote on this lump.
Yep.
Part of them are good and part of them are bad.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, there's more good than there's bad somewhere, or there's more bad in it than good.
Yeah.
And either way, something is gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
And so that system is a problem.
And then-
Tying in with that, we cannot afford career politicians.
Nope.
We just can't,
Nope,
you know?
because their whole
Because
thing
you and
is
I
to
can
get
be buddy-buddy
reelected.
for forever, you know, and then we just keep passing each other stuff, which may or may not be.
That's one thing I think would be a good selling point, if you promise, absolutely promise, that you will retire after 23 terms in office.
I promise.
By removing the federal government and the state government from our local educational system, every little town
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very good.
your district should be striving to create enough jobs for all the children who graduate or attend that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll get
Took Lincoln City, what do we
Thank
need
you.
in Lincoln City? The kids would be learning building,
Okay.
learning to paint, they'd be learning to
Right.
build, they'd be learning to fix cars, they'd be learning air conditioning, heaters,
Gotcha.
roofing. And so when they come out of Taft High
They
School,
know something.
they
Yep.
have
More
They
than
have-
just deal drugs.
They have Lincoln City as their place. They don't have to go to Salem. Salem is inundated with their own offspring, and so they're impacted. So they go to Portland. Somewhere or another, they get lost. They become members of Occupy.
I have raspberry, powdered or
All
glazed,
those jobs is gonna be replaced by.
lemon, powdered or glazed.
Right?
And
You know,
I
we're
get the
talking
varying
about
cream,
tech
either chocolate covered, maple
jobs.
covered, or powdered.
I was never involved in tech work.
You know what I like about the tech work, though? I'm a supporter of it, and I'll tell you why. It's our #1 export right now from Oregon.
I have a raspberry powdered.
What I'm saying is the kids that graduate from high school aren't,
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
we gotta create
Was there
employment for
Yes.
those that, you know, well, there's plenty, you talk to almost every
Can I get that
young
chocolate bar?
person that really doesn't know where they're going yet. Oh, yeah, I wanna get into computers.
You know, I bet one of them, though, could figure out how to do a telephone with a dial-up.
So we really have to have each kind of a hands-on thing for our local, our board.
You know, in Newport, they used to have an automotive class. Because we donated 2 cars,
Sprinkled.
and they were thrilled to get those cars because the kids were taking the engines apart and rebuilding them. I mean, they were doing
I'll get
all this stuff.
new
Well,
lemon.
you know, I don't know,
whatever it is.
now the cars are computerized. I don't know how much that thing is going.
When my oldest
But I
was
mean, it should have
17.
been, they should have started evolving that. Because somebody's got to figure out what's wrong with the computer, in the car.
That's the tech end of it, but
Yeah,
things
yeah.
are so
And,
simple
you have a
now.
wonderful morning.
That the kids that aren't in the tech minded, they just attach this post in the car, and it tells you exactly what's wrong with the car.
And then you start doing like you built by
They
a
are,
book.
you attach it, and it tells you what needs to be replaced, that they can remove it.
And thanks to that system, that's why I've got 190,000 miles on my car, almost, which I'm very relieved for.
Yeah, you gotta get that plan.
Well, that's why my husband doesn't want to
Yeah,
sell
that's
our old
exactly
cars. He
right.
wants to fix them because they're,
Elton Galbraith's,
Alright.
you got them, Ventura County.
How you doing this morning?
Oh, pretty good. It was not fire away. Gotta have
So let's
fire
get
away.
friends.
Well, when my oldest was 17, he got a summer job working for a single builder
But-
on site. He was gonna learn, we were thrilled, he was thrilled and everything. Till it went to the payroll and they said, this kid's 17, you can't hire him, you can't even pick up a 2x4 on the job.
And some of that is union.
He can't hold a saw, he can't do anything. The guy said, I am sorry, you are really a good worker. I will pay you what I owe you, but I can't.
One more quick story, and the reason I say that might be union is, I was just talking with the electricians group, and they were saying that there was a prohibition against them being able to carry a screwdriver in their work pack because they were electricians who couldn't screw a screw. So that would mean that if they needed to work on that plate over there, they had to get another one of their union members to take the plate off because it has a screw in it. And imagine the cost. It's part of that plastic.
Prevailing wage, probably, because they're building a school.
There you go. Well, I just want to say to all of you that emailing with you, talking with you is just such an absolute thrill. I just absolutely appreciate it. And I appreciate your support in this campaign. Earl's got lawn signs if you don't have enough.
I have a ton.
By the way, there used to be mills down in Toledo,
And I have it on my Facebook page with my chickens next to it. That's me.
the east end of Newport.
The grass is a little long, maybe if we cut it, I'll redo it.
Which employed the longshoremen, and there were ships coming in, and all of that went away, because it became too expensive to get the timber.
Well,
Especially,
that's a part of that plastic sheet.
Yeah.
It's over free enterprise, so let's start permeating that.
But we gotta get you elected first.
How to handle that volume without it being packaged, or where you have,
The
try to make the
volume.
best of bad choices of all those bills that get packaged together.
Yeah.
So that you,
Yeah, there's two things I'd like to see on that. Thank you for mentioning that again. One is the separation, and two is because of the incredible overlap of existing regulations. With the proposal of a new bill, it should be made crystal clear what is being proposed that is new or different, so that we can more readily see from those thousands and thousands of pages what is it that is really being proposed here and on which subjects, and that could be one subject if they have to be separated. So that, I think, is tied up in rules that would be pretty, not a simple thing to change, but I think there are good people in Congress now, and a few. And if some of those people work together, like the Paul Ryans in the world, and some of them, we can make some good progress on that. But I concur with you, because then things get lost and confused.
And I will have it in a bit.
Just quickly too, I would like to see some new rules put on genetically modified food being labeled and so forth, so that we know.
To where they were clearly labeled.
Because 80% of our corn and wheat is now genetically modified, and I would like to see some more awareness on
What you're buying.
What country of origin?
that too. We need to know what's in our food, the whole pink slime thing that's come up, and, aren't they? There should be a trust factor there in what we're eating is what we think it is.
That's an interesting one, because you would think, since it is an important topic, that it would already be
We all
covered
eat.
somewhere.
We all eat.
But what do we eat?
Well,
It's a
the
pleasure to
thing
meet
is,
you. Thank you so much for being here.
pink slime, are you talking about the pinko tendencies of Congress?
I like your perspective.
Yes, it is very good. That's the way to express it works.
Strange frame of reference.
We have to keep things light, or we'd go nuts.
I didn't hear what it said. What is that?
We were talking about the pink slime.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I asked if that had anything to do with the pinko attitude of Congress. Well, you have to keep a sense of humor. God has a sense of humor. You don't have to look at people. I mean, he writes humor. Sometimes he has a slow audience. He writes a lot of humor.
If you don't have a sense of
I
humor, you're
noticed
going to
that
get
you have some
over it
buttons,
times.
that you have a button. Do you have extra of those?
I would love to give you
Because it opens up a
Earl.
conversation.
Did you get some buttons?
What?
We need buttons.
I'm on my way.
Because it